So we have a question under free fall motion. The question is saying Zambian footballer Karing Skangwa kicks a football vertical upward in celebration after scoring a Serbian Cup winning penalty with a speed of 35 meters per second. What time does it take for the football to reach the maximum height? So you can pause the video and work it out, and then you continue with it. So there we go. Whenever we're talking about free fall motion, what we have to understand is that when you throw something up, that object reaches at the maximum height. Let's say here is a ball, you throw it, it goes up, it reaches at the maximum height. So we are saying that from this point all the way to this point, that is our h max, that is the maximum height. The moment when the ball reaches at the maximum height, the final velocity at that point is 0. So you're going to be given the initial velocity. Like in this case, we have been given that the initial velocity is 35 meters per second. Okay, that is very, very important. Now, under free fall motion, what you have to understand is that we have three main equations which you have to know. We have the first one, which we call the v final is equal to the v initial plus g times t. Now, why are we using g instead of a? It's just because the object is under the influence of gravity. So we are using the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay. Now, the second one is you can either use s as a displacement or d as a distance, which is just the same thing. But in this case, I'm going to use h, or it's the same as even if I use this. S is equal to the v initial times t plus half gt squared. Then we also have the final speed, final velocity squared is equal to the v initial squared plus 2gs. Now in this case, s is the same as the h max. Okay. Now we want to find the time. We can't use the third formula because we don't have time in this formula, so we can't use that one. At the same time, we don't have the displacement, the maximum height, so we can't also use this. The only formula which we can use is the first one. Okay, because we have everything. Now whenever we're talking about free fall motion, when an object is going up, the value of g is negative 9.8. When an object is coming down toward the gravity, the value of g is positive 9.8 meters per second squared. Now since this ball was going up, the value of g is going to be negative. Now we can plug in the values. We know that the final velocity, since it reaches at the maximum height, is 0. The initial is 35 plus the g is negative 9.8 because it was going away from the gravity times t. We shift 35 to the other side, we are going to have negative 35 is going to be equal to negative 9.8 times t. So we divide both sides by negative 9.8, both sides by negative 9.8. So we can see that these will cancel and t will be equal to negative and negative will go. So we're going to have a 35 divided by 9.8. We'll be able to find 3.57 seconds. So this is the answer for this question.